These recordings are recent. No one was searching for anything unusual. The cameras were already running. Farms, yards, empty land, capturing normal life. Then, something enters the frame. At first, it seems ordinary. Then it isn't. The shape holds, too still. The movement feels slightly wrong. Nothing dramatic happens, but the normal scene never feels normal again. Whatever was captured was never explained. Whispering crone. He was just walking toward a dry ravine, outside town. Phone already recording, because he likes documenting abandoned trails. Nothing unusual at first. Just dust, wind, and the sound of his steps. Then he notices something crouched in the middle of the path. He thinks it's an injured dog. As he gets closer, it doesn't look like one. The body is covered in dark fur, bent on all fours, but the head looks old, bald in places, wrinkled, strands of white hair falling forward. It scratches symbols into the dirt with long fingers, calm, focused. It doesn't react to him. At one point, it straightens slightly. A whisper is heard. Returned. Later, villagers find nothing there, just hand-shaped prints in the dust.
Look at its face.
Water figure. The pier had been empty for years. Someone was just testing a camera near the fog, pointing it toward the water, because the light looked strange that evening. At first, you only see ripples. Then, something rises. It looks like a seal for a second, dark, wet, low in the water, but the torso keeps lifting, longer than it should be. The upper body doesn't match the rest. It stays still, dripping, facing the dock. No sound except the water. Without warning, it lunges upward. Claws hit the wooden railing. Old boards splinter. The camera shakes hard, static breaking the image. When it steadies, the surface is empty again. Only deep cuts remain in the wood, and a pool of brackish water below. Local fishermen avoid that section. After dark. Roadside collector. It was a normal cleanup afternoon on a rural road in Arkansas County. Volunteers had lined the shoulder with trash bags, same as every week. One resident stayed behind, filming casually, mostly to document how much had been collected. That's when something moved between the bags. At first, it looks like a wolf, but it stands too tall. The limbs seem longer than they should be. Its posture almost upright. The skin looks thick, gray. The face isn't shaped like a snout. It's flatter, lined. The eyes look sunken. It isn't ripping the bags open. It opens them slowly, one by one, almost sorting. When it finds a stained white cloth, it pauses. Then it looks directly toward the camera. In a low voice, barely steady, it says, "This was mine." Deep vent observer. The ROV was operating at 1,600 meters. Part of a routine benthic survey near hydrothermal vents. No one was expecting anything unusual. The cameras were just documenting sediment and mineral flow. Then the lights catch something resting on the seafloor. At first, it looks like rock, until it moves. Its body is covered in overlapping iridescent scales, reflecting the ROV beams like dark glass. Two wide fins press against the sediment, but they end in articulated digits, flexing carefully. The head is what holds the frame. Forward-facing eyes, narrow snout, subtle ear-like ridges, no visible gills. It doesn't retreat. It tilts its head slightly, as if studying the vehicle. For 38 seconds, it remains there, breathing slowly. Then, it pushes off the seabed and slips into a fissure. Marine biologists confirmed the footage was authentic. They just couldn't identify it. Barnyard imitator. Just after sunrise, a rancher hears movement near the calf pen. It's early, so he assumes it's a stray dog slipping through the fence. He lifts his phone and starts recording while walking closer. What steps into view isn't a dog. The body is thin and upright. It moves on two legs, uneven, almost learning how to balance. The legs are long and bird-like. The arms hang lower, nearly human in shape, ending in narrow claws. Its head carries a stretched snout and furred ears. Teeth show, even when the mouth stays closed. It doesn't charge the calves. It watches them, tilts its head slightly, as if studying how they move. When the rancher raises his phone higher, it turns sharply toward him. It stares for 5 seconds, then runs between the barns. No tracks remain. Abyssal Drifter. The observatory camera was fixed at 1,800 meters, logging routine deep-sea data. Nothing unusual was expected. The frame usually shows sediment, slow currents, drifting particles. Then a shape appears above the seabed. At first, it looks like tangled algae caught in a current, but it holds its form. A thin, almost humanoid core, wrapped in long fronds that sway like torn fabric. Two wide extensions hang outward, lined with faint bioluminescent filaments. It moves twice, slow, deliberate. Then it stops completely. For over 3 minutes, it doesn't drift or sink. It simply remains there. Sonar confirms a single dense mass. No visible mouth, no eyes, no propulsion. When the ROV approaches, the figure folds inward. It collapses into a cloud that scatters into the dark. Nothing remains on camera afterward. Patrolling Vulture. It started with calls from locals near an abandoned cattle farm in Norfolk. People kept saying there was a large bird walking upright in the tall grass. Most assumed it was an escaped ostrich. An officer went out just to confirm.
Wow.
What stood out there wasn't an ostrich.
Did you see that?
It did resemble a vulture,
jumped like nothing.
but the proportions felt wrong. Too large through the chest, too upright in posture. Long legs carried it in slow circles, almost like it was tracing the same path again and again. It wasn't feeding on anything. It wasn't trying to leave. Each time someone stepped closer, it snapped its head toward them and froze completely. When a phone was raised to record, it lowered its head slightly. That night, motion sensors kept triggering.
Did you see that?
By morning, only 3-toed
jumped like
prints
nothing.
remained. Microfin Predator. The ROV was operating at 1,300 meters during a routine deep-sea survey. The cameras were focused on sediment movement when something entered the edge of the frame. At first, the long spear-shaped face stands out. It resembles a swordfish rostrum, narrow and metallic under the submersible lights. But the body doesn't match. Instead of a smooth, torpedo shape, rows of small fin-like protrusions line its sides and dorsal ridge. They move independently, subtle, coordinated. The creature hovers without effort, then pivots in place with unusual precision. It doesn't dart away from the vehicle. It adjusts position, maintaining distance, almost studying it. Marine biologists reviewing the footage confirmed it was authentic. No known teleost combines that cranial structure with distributed microfin propulsion. After several seconds, it angles downward and disappears into the dark. No species identification followed. Flightless impostor. The footage was recorded inside a sealed forest reserve near the Mongolia-China border. Trackers and 2 biologists had responded to reports of livestock being fed on in daylight. They found the creature in a clearing and restrained it with ropes, filming as they worked. In the center sat something vulture-like, but there were no wings. Its body was covered in matted black feathers. The limbs were short, ending in curved, almost primate-like fingers. A bald pink face held a hooked beak that opened and closed slowly, releasing a dry rasp. It didn't struggle. It looked at each person, one by one. Then the soil beneath its claws began to crack. The ropes pulled tight without anyone touching them. The recording stops abruptly. Later, no body was found, only a perfect circular depression in the ground. Mountain Watcher. The wildlife camera triggered at 12:37 a.m. in a fog-covered mountain range. It was placed there to monitor ordinary animal movement. Nothing rare had ever appeared before. Then, this crosses the frame. It moves on four limbs with controlled, quiet precision. The torso is muscular and furred, stretched longer than a typical marsupial. Each arm and leg ends in 5 distinct digits. Halfway between paw and hand, dark claws gripping rock without sound. The head is narrow and hairless. Large reflective eyes face forward, fixed on something beyond the camera. Behind it, a thick tail curls and uncurls slightly as it pauses. It doesn't rush. It doesn't seem startled. It simply continues past, as if the trail belonged to it. No known local species matches that structure. By morning, only disturbed gravel remained. Riverborn Watcher. Alistair was filming the River Spey early that morning, just to send his grandson a clip of the mist rolling over the current. It was quiet. Nothing unusual. Just water moving slow between the banks. Then something rises. At first, it looks like a black bear breaking the surface, but the back sits too high. The limbs seem thicker than they should be. From its sides hang 2 soaked shapes, folded like bat wings. It straightens briefly, a fish twitching between its teeth. Everything around it goes still. No birds, no wind. After a few seconds, it turns and sinks back, under without a splash. Later, Alistair checks the file. The clip is only 3 seconds long, but the size reads 1.4 gigabytes. When played back, there's only fog and a low humming underneath. Striped enclosure. The footage shows a dim enclosure, concrete walls, a single overhead light. The person recording isn't speaking. It feels recent, not archival. In the center stands an animal that looks exactly like a thylacine. Slender, dog-like frame, stiff tail, dark stripes running across its back. It shifts its weight nervously. At one point, it opens its mouth and lets out a low, rough sound. Not quite a bark, not quite a growl. The thylacine was declared extinct in 1936, but this one is breathing, moving, very much alive. There's no location data attached to the file. After 52 seconds, the signal cuts abruptly. No explanation follows, just the image of something that shouldn't exist anymore. Roofline Observer. The workers had stopped for a break when someone noticed movement on the rusted roof of an old storage shed. It was broad daylight. One of them lifted his phone, mostly out of curiosity. On the roof, something was crouched low against the metal. Its skin looked tight over its frame. The belly was bare, limbs long, spine arched in a tense curve. The face didn't resemble any animal they knew. Too human in its structure. Pointed ears, eyes fixed forward without blinking. A thin tail moved slowly behind it. No sound came from it. The air felt strangely still. One worker picked up a stone and threw it. The creature leapt farther than expected, vanishing behind the roofline in a single motion. The clip lasts 6 seconds. It was posted with one line: "That thing doesn't live here." Bridge Guardian. The video was recorded in Ohio. A driver slowed down beneath a bridge after noticing something still between the concrete pillars. At first, he thought it was debris caught in the shadows. He stopped and zoomed in. There, crouched low, was a winged figure, shielding something smaller beneath its body. The larger creature kept one wing partially extended. The other looked damaged, torn or burned, hanging unevenly at its side. It didn't try to escape. It stayed hunched over the smaller shape, eyes fixed directly toward the camera. No sudden movements. Just watching, the driver kept filming, unsure whether to step closer or leave. Then a low, heavy sound echoed under the bridge. The creature began to move, slowly, without releasing the smaller one. That's when the recording ends. On Rooftop presence, a teenager was outside feeding his guinea pigs when he noticed something perched on the barn roof. The driver kept filming, unsure whether to step closer or leave. Then a low, heavy sound echoed under the bridge. The creature began to move, slowly, without releasing the smaller one. That's when the recording ends. From a distance, he assumed it was a condor resting there. He pulled out his phone and started recording while walking closer. It didn't move, like a bird, or like a person. The figure sat hunched with its wings spread wide, as if drying after rain. Its body looked thin, almost skeletal, covered in grayish skin. Long arms hung forward, hands extended and still. Wet strands of hair covered part of its face. The wind didn't disturb the wings. The animals below stayed silent. After a few seconds, the creature slowly lifted its head. One wing shifted slightly backward, without turning its body. The image glitches. When it clears, the roof is empty. Dump Field Wanderer. The video was reportedly filmed outside a small town in the United States, near an area known for illegal dumping. A man was walking through the site, documenting the trash piles, when he noticed movement between broken furniture and plastic bags. At first, he thought it was a large bird, but when it stepped fully into view, it was standing upright. The body was thin and covered in dark feathers. Its neck was unusually long. It moved in an unsteady way, almost disoriented, taking slow steps across the debris. It didn't react to the man filming. It didn't try to run. It simply stared ahead, as if focused on something unseen. After a few minutes, it turned and walked into the brush. No one has identified what it was. Field distortion. The Wheeler family was walking through an open field outside Cedar Hill, Missouri, just before sunset. The light was low, the grass moving gently. Then they noticed something shaking a few yards ahead. At first, they thought it was a wounded bird caught in the grass. It wasn't. A bat-like figure stood on two bent legs. Its torso was covered in wet black feathers. The wings hung awkwardly, almost like damaged arms. Its eyes looked large and forward-facing. There was a beak, but the sound that came out was a strained scream from deeper in the throat. It looked frightened. Its chest moved fast, like it couldn't get air. Then, nearby phones began recording in slow motion without anyone touching them. The air seemed to ripple. For a second, everything went still, and the creature was gone.
What is it making that noise for?
Desert reptile. The video shows a dusty trail somewhere in a dry, scrub-covered landscape. Low bushes, reddish soil, late afternoon light. A group of people appears to be backing away while someone records. In the foreground, a massive reptile moves across the path. At first glance, it resembles a Komodo dragon. Thick body, heavy scales, low posture to the ground. But it looks unusually large for the setting, especially in an open desert like this. Its head lifts slightly. The mouth appears partially open. Dust rises around its limbs as it shifts forward. The people filming sound startled, stepping back. The animal doesn't retreat. It remains facing them, occupying the path. The clip ends before anything else happens. Rootline Figure. They were hiking through a pine forest in northern Oregon, documenting an old logging trail. Morning fog still hung between the trees. No birds, no insects, just boots on damp needles. Clara stopped first. Near the exposed roots of a large pine, something sat low to the ground. At first, it looked like a fallen owl. Then it lifted its head. The body was feathered, beige with small white markings, but from the chest downward extended two long, pale, human-like arms, thin, hairless. Fingers pressed into the soil as if learning how to crawl. The face had the shape of a barn owl. Heart-shaped mask. Small beak. Where the eyes should have been, there were only dark hollows. One hiker began recording. The image briefly distorted. The creature tilted its head. Then it sank straight down between the roots. No hole remained. Later, the video timestamp read 6:47 a.m. every time. Caged bird. The video shows a large dark bird inside a metal cage. The bars are vertical, close together. Behind it, there's a brick wall and part of a turquoise structure. A man is filming from just outside the enclosure. The bird's body is covered in dark feathers. Its head is lighter, almost bald around the face. The beak is large and curved downward. At one moment, it tilts its head sharply to the side. Its beak opens wide. The eyes appear round and alert, fixed toward the person recording. It doesn't flap. It doesn't move around the cage. It simply stays there, head angled unnaturally, mouth open. The clip ends with the bird still staring through the bars,